Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Q1FY26 earnings season. And in today's video, we'll be talking about a very small cap company called as Kartar Shopping Cart Limited. And its market cap is hardly like 300-350 crore in that range. So we will understand its business model, what is the guidance like, how does the valuation look, what are the risks involved over here. We will discuss the entire the business model over here. And yeah, please don't come at me like I'm just back from the gym. Like, I'm pretty sure like my hair and everything is just not fine, but I literally don't care because there is so much, like there is so many results to look at it today, because like every morning I get up and then I go to the BSE and NSE website and I make a list of the companies. Today there are like 16-17 companies to do, and there are like a couple of con calls that I need to attend live. And you also ask me like how do I remember so many things. Like, I just read something and it just sticks to my head. And like what I do when I'm making a video is like I just write the main points. Like, I don't know if you can see, like I write like medicine, business model, guidance. Like, I have like certain things, like just so because I can understand. When I read, I can understand, but if I'm explaining it to somebody, then there has to be like a storytelling involved. There has to be an order, so the other person who's listening, they can understand. So this is all the this is literally my script, like one word stuff you can see over here, which mentions like guidance and some numbers, because it's hard for me to like remember the exact numbers like margins and everything. Okay, but anyways guys, let's just not digress, and let's just come back. So what does Satkartar do? Like, what is the business model like? If you look at Satkartar, these people sell medicines. Okay, medicines ka product, just like your capsules, your powders and all of it. But what kind of medicines? Purely आपका Ayurvedic medicines. Okay, only that they sell. Ayurvedic company hai, and they sell Ayurvedic medicines. And iska medicines jo hai, it gets like you understand it. Abhi if you are selling any Ayurvedic medicines, it has to be approved by that Ayush ministry that is there. सो अगर यहाँ पे इसका मेडिसिन देखते हो कौन कौन से मेडिसिन बेचता है. 80% ऑफ द मेडिसिन दैट दे डू एंड दे सेल, इट कम्स फ्रॉम आपका लाइफस्टाइल रिलेटेड डिसीजेस सच एज आपका पाइल्स, डायबिटीज, आपका सेक्सुअल वेलनेस, आपका मे बी बोन्स एंड जॉइंट्स आर वीक एंड यू नीड मेडिसिन फॉर दैट, राइट? सो दिस इज 80% of your main revenue contribution. These are the medicines. The other 20% of the revenue contribution comes for like आपका diseases which requires like a medical intervention, like maybe respiratory related diseases, आपका kidney का diseases, lungs का diseases, PCOD, PCOS. So this that is there, which requires a lot of medical intervention, and those kind are like 20%. But 80% majority of the revenue that is there comes from this lifestyle related diseases that are there, उससे आता है. ठीक है? So this is one thing. Now यहाँ पे अगर आप देखते हो कहाँ पे where do they sell? As of now they are mostly 100% oriented in domestic market. इसका 51%, if you look at it, the revenue comes from the north of India, and the rest that is there, the rest 49% comes from south of India. Even if I talk about with respect to states, अगर आप देखते हो Tamil Nadu as a state, that contributes 22% of the revenue, then followed by Karnataka, which contributes around 10 to 13% of the revenue that is there. So this is what this is more or less the business model. But how do these people sell it? मतलब ये कैसे sell करते हैं? Like, I understand इसका like they have this medicine and everything, but how do they make it? How do they sell it? So these people first, what they do is, let's say if they come across a problem, this there is a lot of problem in the market, maybe something like a bone and joint pain, especially for elder people. यहाँ पे they see that there is a lot of demand for these kind of medicine. They create a formulation, then obviously the formulation has to go through a lot of testing. It has to be approved by the Ayush ministry. Once the formulation is approved by the Ayush ministry, they send it to contract manufacturing. इनका खुद का कोई मैन्युफैक्चरिंग नहीं है. दे सेंड इट टू अ थर्ड पार्टी दैट मैन्युफैक्चर्स द मेडिसिन फॉर देम. उसका ब्रांडिंग सब करवाता है, एंड आफ्टर दैट व्हाट दे डू इज दे सेल इट. हाउ डू दे सेल इट? यहाँ पे इनका मेन सोर्स इज दे सेल इट वाया देयर ओन वेबसाइट्स एंड अदर D2C चैनल्स. क्या होता है? दिस पीपल रन अ लॉट ऑफ दीज एड्स, Instagram ads, Google ads, Meta ads, YouTube ads that are there. Okay, like you might see, right? For example, if you have searched maybe like maybe you've searched for a bag on Google, and then then after that, once you start browsing, your shorts or Instagram reels, you will find, those Instagram ads related, various different backup brand that is there. So kya hote hain, inka majority of the revenue that comes, it comes, by running these ads, okay, in Facebook, in Instagram, in various other social media platforms that is there. These people run the ads. Once they run the ads, obviously, right, once you're scrolling and you see, like, 10 ads, that is showing you this Ayurvedic medicine, people have a tendency to click on that ad, and once they click on that ad, there is a probability that they will purchase this also. So this is exactly how, and then once they purchase, it gets clocked into the sales. So this is how, mostly unka ye jo business model hai, ye chalta hai. Mostly it comes, like I told you, majority portion comes over here by running this advertisements that are there. Okay, now what made this interesting prospect was when they had come for IPO, right, and I think the first con call that they did, right, which was Q4 of FY25, when they did that con call, they told, and even before the IPO also, if you look at it, they had given a guidance कि like we will grow our sales for the next 3 years, we will grow our sales by 50%. यही उन्होंने बोला था. Okay, and if you look at the previous years before they came for IPO, if you look at it, all those years they have been growing at roughly, in that 40 to 50% CAGR only every year. So उनका जब ये बोलना था कि like, yes, we will continue this growth rate to 40 to 50% CAGR, it looked very very doable. But the pehla result jo tha when they came into the market, that is a Q4 FY25, which is the H2 of FY25, just 6 months ago, you see that there was a miss on guidance. But in spite of that miss on guidance, they were very confident even in that Q4 ko con call ki like, bhai, we will do 40 to 50% kind of growth even in FY26, you can expect it from us. Now think about it, in FY25 पूरा साल का revenue कितना था उनका, 163 crores. Okay, so 163 crores में अगर आप 50% करते हो, then for FY25-26 you should be doing 230 crore na, roughly that is a calculation, 230 to 240 crore. So if you're doing 230 to 240 crore for the full year, then the first H1 that is there, you should be clocking around somewhere at 120 crore kind of run rate, right? That is the basic calculation that you can do. But if you look at H1 of FY25-26, you see that they have done only 88 crores in terms of revenue. So if you look at the year-on-year growth, that is last H1 versus this H1, you see that the sales only grew by 16.57%. Again, उन्होंने कितना guidance दिया था, 50% का guidance दिया था, कितना किया, only 16% का guidance किया, I mean 16% का revenue growth, 85 crores in terms of run rate in H1. कितना करना चाहिए था, somewhere around 120 to 130 crore. Okay, so why did they miss out on guidance? So what really happened over here? So what happened was, as you know, in the month of April and May, we had this Indo-Pak war that happened, right? As a result, entire North India mein, there was a lot of problems, there was a lot of disruptions in terms of supply chain, because the airspace that is there, that got closed. A lot of transportation mode, even on the road, was also closed. There was all these curfews and everything that went on. So because of this, unka pura supply chain jo hai, that got affected. Okay, because these people, like I told you, kaise karte hai, they run a lot on ads chalate hai, people order on the website, and then after that, they get the medicines delivered to their place, and that's how they do it. So when this entire airspace got affected, unka couriers jo ho gaya, delivery related partners jo ho gaya, everything got delayed and delayed and delayed. As a result, this entire H1 has not been very strong for them. This is one of the reasons. The second reason is unka one of the centers that is there, that caught fire, and I think they lost probably around 8 to 10 days of sales over here even because of this. Okay, not really sure how many days of sales they lost, but yahan pe unka jo center hai, even that caught fire. Although there has been no impact in terms of like person, nobody got injured, but yes, iska bhi impact tha. So because of these two reasons, you see that the guidance that was given for this year, that has not been achieved. Okay, but having said that, you will see that the margins that are there, okay, unka, along with giving you that 50% guidance for FY25-26, there were a couple of other things. Unka PAT margin jo tha, they wanted to increase a PAT margin. Unka uska ye bolna tha ki like, bhai, mera 6% PAT margin hai, I will take it up to 9 to 10% PAT margin, and EBITDA margin they wanted to reach somewhere between 15 to 20% in this year. But if you look at it right now, EBITDA margin as of H1 is 11.63, but the PAT margin has seen a lot of improvement from 5 to around 8.89% आप पकड़ लो, PAT margin has improved. So margins, इसके वजह से operating leverage जो है ना, that has been really good, because if you look at the PAT has literally doubled from almost 3.8 crores to 7 almost 8 crore 4 से 8 crore पकड़ लो approximation के लिए, that has doubled. So one thing at least that has been, although the guidance is very less, थोड़ा एक अच्छा जो है that PAT margin has improved, operating leverage थोड़ा यहाँ पे मिल चुका है. Okay, so now understand कि like H1 में the performance has not been that great, right? I mean, they are missing the guidance and everything. What about the rest of the year, that is H2 of this year, can they at least target, that, can they do something where they reach that 50% guidance, or how it is? So inka now if you look at it, like I told you, 50% agar wo karta hai, then how much they had to reach by the end of the year? Somewhere at like 230 to 40 crore, somewhere in that range, 250 crores they had to reach, right? But now they are revoking the guidance and वो बोल रहे हैं ये सब issue के वजह से, H1 has been a lag, and now they're telling in this year FY25-26 they will reach a run rate of probably 200 crore. So अगर आप 200 crore का run rate करते हो, last time it was 163 crore, that is roughly a 25% kind of growth for this year, okay? And PAT margin will sustain somewhere at the same 9 to 10% you can expect. But still, one thing you can see that the guidance in terms of top line that is there for this year has been revoked, okay? Now this year उनका ये कहना है कि like, in fact management ने con call में भी यही बोला था कि like we as a management, although yes, result has been good, it's not that bad, but we are also disappointed with our numbers, because we really expected a lot to happen. And उन्होंने पहले ही बोला था, before the call, before, analyst can ask you questions, before that only they told, I know I'll get a lot of questions regarding this, but before you can ask only, मैं ही बोल देता हूँ कि like bhai, I am not happy with what the performance we have done, but unfortunately there was no way around for us, because we are dependent on delivery partners, on India Post and everybody, to supply our materials, and when our delivery partners are affected over here, there is nothing I can do. But yes, having said that, this year could be that 22-25% kind of growth, but aage jaake they are telling long term jo guidance hai, by FY28, that is now abhi to FY26 hai, by FY28, in a span of like 2 years, they are targeting a 500 crores in revenue. So imagine if they end this year with 200 crore, and in the next 2 years you're targeting around 500 crores in revenue, that is roughly another like 50 to 60% kind of CAGR. And they've given a clear cut guidance कि like FY27 में वो 300 crore करेगा. This year they will end with 200 crore. Next year, that is FY27 में they will do 300 crores. That is 200 से 300, again a 50% CAGR. And they're telling कि like शायद उसका PAT margin जो है that will double, and again it will go probably, because this year probably they will end with 10% kind of PAT margin. They will double the PAT margin next year in FY27 and take it up to 15% kind of PAT margin. And in FY28 again they will do around 500 crores and PAT margin can reach up to 20% also. ये बोल रहा है. So why are they giving such this bullish guidance that is there? मतलब इस साल तो ठीक है muted है, but FY27-28 के लिए ये 50% का growth, PAT margin हर साल double होगा. ये इतना bullishness कहाँ से आ रहा है? Like what is the reason for this? So couple of things, a couple of changes that are happening in the business. Okay, पहला change है कि like these people are pushing a little bit in terms of acquisition कर रहे हैं to increase the product portfolio. Recently in this H1 that is there, they have acquired two companies. One is Ajuni Life Science बोल के, and the other one is Plantomed बोल के. ये दो एक आयुर्वेदिक company है which does this medicines. इसको उन्होंने acquire किया है. What was the logic behind acquiring this? Because उनका, if you look at this Satkartar का current medicine profile, the product profile that is there, if you they have the same medicines as these two companies, but problem है कि like इनका जो सतकर्तर का medicine है, that is a little bit of premium product बोल सकते हो, a little bit of an expensive product, and these that are there, they sell a little bit of that low to mid range kind of product that is there in terms of price point, I'm telling. So this will give them an entire product portfolio where they can target all the product all the product category that is there. That is one thing. Second, among the Satkartar, they have multiple brands. They have this another brand called as Veda, which is another very well prominent brand, and इसको ये push कर रहा है. That is what they're doing. थर्ड क्या कर रहा है, as I told you, until now these people were doing contract manufacturing. अभी बोल रहे हैं कि like मैं अपना खुद का manufacturing डाल रहा हूँ, ठीक है? So they're putting up a manufacturing plant which will cost them around 2 crore something, and यहाँ पे they will start making these capsules. Okay, as you know, right, when you talk about medicines, there are different kind of medicines. आपका capsules आता है, tablet आता है, powders आता है. In this manufacturing plant जो लगा रहे हैं, इसमें they will start making these capsules and maybe powders also, which will contribute. Capsules का अगर आप revenue contribution देख रहे हो, it is 25% of the sales, and going forward 50% इसका capacity utilization होगा. And one of the analysts asked a very nice question कि like bro, like why would you only keep at 50% capacity, right? Why don't you take it up to 100% capacity and get everything in house manufactured? उसने very अच्छा आंसर दिया कि like भाई मतलब मैं अगर यहाँ पे पूरा कैपिटल डाल दूँ ultimately, right, there can be a problem कि like tomorrow if my sales that doesn't happen and here I'm sitting with all the capacity, right, then मेरा जो भी मैंने एक साल में कमाया it will go away in 15 days. I want to have that balance because यहाँ पे working capital is very intense and I cannot put all my money over here in working capital. Tomorrow that I see that some product is not getting accepted really well, all I have to do is वहाँ पे contract manufacturing में I stop my manufacturing over here. Unlike here, यहाँ पे मेरे dead assets जो है, dead inventory that is there, it will become bigger. So eventually they would want to do all the in-house, but right now that is there only जो capsules है ये करेगा in-house, जिसके वजह से the margins that is there, they will have better control in terms of margin, they will have better control in terms of R&D also. So one is acquisition and because of which the product portfolio that is there, that is getting better. Second, खुद का manufacturing डाल रहे, this also will help you in increasing your margins. Okay, the third what they're doing is they're trying to enter the entire gambit of this Ayurvedic profile. Now when I tell entire gambit, see, whenever you talk about Ayurveda, there are three main categories. One is your spa centers, where you go get all that Ayurvedic spas and relaxations. Okay, the other one is your Ayurvedic hospitals like how Jeena has, and the third is your medicines, which like Satkartar, Jeena, Patanjali, all of these people, Ayurvedic medicines जो है, this is there. So these are the three main gambits in the Ayurvedic space. अगर आप देखते हो ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा आता है from I think 36% is contribution from spa, and then the rest is like 40% contribution from hospital and the this one, what do you call that, the medicines. अभी क्या कर रहे हैं, now until now they are there only and only in this medicine profile. Now they want to do they want to start their own hospitals. यहाँ पे अभी cross selling भी चालू होगा because the bigger hospital you have, आपको थोड़ा यहाँ पे there is a possibility यहाँ पे एक brand भी बन सकता है. So recently what they've started is they started to put up a hospital also. Delhi NCR में they will put up a hospital and this will be a 100-bedded hospital. इसका first phase will be live in Q1 of next year, that is Q1 of FY27 में. The first phase will be live with I think 30 beds, and the next, that is by the end of the year, that is Q4 of FY27, they will put up 100 beds that is there, they will put up, and roughly I think the capex will cost them around 100 crores, that is their total. Wait, I think I'm telling it wrong. In the first phase in Q1 they will put up 30 beds, 30. इसका capex लगेगा 2 crore, and in the second phase, that is by Q4 of FY27, 300 beds they will put, which will cost them 100 crore. If you look at the math, it is correct because Jeena का भी if you look at it, एक bed का cost is around 6 to 8 lakhs. So almost 100 crores का capex जो है ये करेगा, and the margins from this hospital segment will be around 15 to 20% kind of margins that is there. So this is also what they're trying to do. They're trying to do cross selling over here, because anybody who comes to them with the product, they can direct them to the hospital में आ रहा है तो they can again sell their own products over here. So this is what they're trying to do, and because of these things that are there, one is product portfolio को improve करना with acquisitions and खुद का brand also, push a lot of the premium products, as well as try to get an entire gambit with low and mid value products with the acquisition of Plantomed and Ajuni Life Science. Second क्या कर रहा है, manufacturing कर रहा है, अपना खुद का manufacturing डाल रहा है. Third, what they're doing, hospitals डाल रहा है, because of which they can do cross selling. And fourth, they are entering into new geographies, right? New geographies not just in India, वहाँ पे अपना distributions बढ़ा रहे हैं, but also they are targeting all this US that is there. उनका एक वहाँ पे एक subsidiary भी है, this is what they're targeting, but still यहाँ पे उतना कुछ clarity नहीं है. So because of all these things, उनका जो ये जो long term का जो guidance है, when I tell long term, that is FY27 and FY28, they're very very confident about doing 300 crores and 500 crores that is there, followed by doubling the PAT margin. Okay. No, so that is the thing. अगर मैं यहाँ पे उसका 1 year forward P देखती हूँ, that is FY26 का P, if I look at it, see they are roughly doing 200 crores. 200 crores if I take 8 to 10% PAT margin, PAT for end of this year should be somewhere around 16 to 20 crore. So 1 year P falls at like around 15 P. अगर मैं FY27 का लूँ, FY27 का क्या था, they will do 300 crores at 15% PAT margin. By the way, a lot of people have have confusion कि like 1 year forward PE कैसे करते हैं, you have to figure out the PAT first. What will be the PAT for the upcoming year? अगर मैं FY27 का like I told you, sale is 300 crore. What is PAT margin का formula? PAT margin is nothing but net profit divided by sales, right? I know that the PAT margin in FY27 is going to be 15. I know the sale is going to be how much? 300 crore. PAT margin is equal to net profit divided by sale. I have to find net profit. So PAT margin into sale. So what I'm going to do is 15. It's in percentage, right? So you have to convert into decimal. 15 into kitna tha? 300, right? Divided by 100. So that is 45 crores in PAT for FY27. And you have to take आज का market cap. आज का market cap कितना है? 320 crores. 320 divided by 45 is 2 year forward P. You can expect 7. Not 2 year, 1.5 year आप बोल सकते हो. 15 months का forward P. That is for FY27 का अगर मैं valuation लूँ, the 1 year forward, the 1.5 year का forward P आता है 7 to 8 का आता है P for a 50% growth engine. So this is how the entire PE का calculation is done. And if I take FY26, it comes up to roughly around 15 का PE आता है. Now a lot of people will also do 28, 29 का PE and they will get the PAT. I would never recommend you to do more than 1 year forward PE. Just look at FY26. उसके बाद बात में देख लेंगे. Do not go because see आप कितना ज़्यादा खींचोगे, कितना ज़्यादा years खींचोगे, उतना ज़्यादा आपका PE कम होगा. But you tell me, right? We live in such a dynamic world. Think about this guy. He came in FY25 का end, which is in April and May का months, and he told कि like मैं 50% का growth करूँगा. 6 months down the line, was he able to do 50% का growth? No, he ended up doing 25% का growth. Why? Because unfortunately we live in a dynamic world. एक किसी का war हो गया, जिसका लंका लग गया यहाँ पे. Very sad ना that happened. So we live in such a dynamic world. You might look at 2 to 3 years from now, and anything when you look at 2 to 3 years from now, it will look inherently cheap only. But unfortunately, we have to look at the changing conditions that is there. आप कितना भी cheap ले लो 2 साल 3 साल 4 साल में, ultimately when the guidance is not met, when things are not working in line with what you have told, when you cannot walk the talk, कितना भी कम P दे दो ना, it is useless over here, because most important thing is sales growth over here. ठीक है? So that is the thing. Now one thing I can tell you is like, I understand that the guidance is very bullish and everything, right? But see, they missed out on the guidance of this year because of unfortunately certain mishaps that happened. Not the management's fault, but having said that, it still happened. That, like I always tell, guidance can always be missed with or without management's fault. And as an investor, as a shareholder, it's got nothing to do with you. You have to be motionless over here and take and do decisions according to your risk profile. Over here, although the long-term guidance for FY27 and 28 is great, I think for me personally, I would like to wait and watch, how they end the year this year, and how does it look like, in the upcoming H1, because they did tell 50% ka guidance, but it didn't happen. So there could also be, right, there is also an equal probability. There is a 50% probability ye shayad 300 crore in 27 FY27, 500 crore in FY28 they can do. There is, I mean why not, they might be able to do. But also at the same time, there is a 50% ka probability that they might not be able to do. Who knows, that hospitals that they're talking about 300 bed by end of Q4, who knows, there could be a delay in ramping up. We do not know. So I think it is a good, it looks very promising, but I think I would need some more time in terms of tracking and getting to know this and see how the execution takes place over here. Although the company might look cheap and operating leverage is getting, यहाँ पे immense operating leverage मिल रहा है. And obviously जब इसका, whenever you have a high growth engine, this by the way falls like high growth and low P, it falls in case 1, and उसके साथ आपको operating leverage मिल रहा है. Sometimes there is a possibility of P re-rating, but for me execution is, I am the kind of person for whom execution matters more, for whom growth matters more than valuation. I would rather buy a 60% ka growth engine at like 35-40 PE than pay like a 25% ka growth engine at 10 PE. That is who I am as a person. Now you can disagree with me, and that is completely fine. So you let me know, how would you look at this company, because the guidance has been failed. Unfortunately the guidance they're not able to meet. Would you like to wait, or would you like trust the company? Like, would you really wait and see how the execution goes? The last thing and the final thing we will talk about is the risk over here. What are the risks involved? First thing first is unka, if you look at it, yahan pe there is no brand power. Okay, when somebody asked, I think in the previous con call, that was in Q4 ka con call, when somebody had asked them ki like, bro, what is your USP over here? And they were like, mera product hi mera USP hai. But I don't think that is really a thing, because Ayurveda, if you look at it, there is so much competition. Listed space mein itna competition hai. We have like two very prominent, with this Patanjali and Jeena. Unlisted space mein mat hi bolo, matlab there is competition from both unorganized as well well as organized space, right? Both में यहाँ पे चलता है. So I don't think your product can be USP. So if when your product is not a USP, I believe in, especially in Ayurveda, a brand power is very important. Like when you think about Patanjali, you think about Ramdev, right? Like it's because of Ramdev, Baba Ramdev, you've got that huge Patanjali ka brand. Similarly, when you think about Jeena, like nobody gives a rat's ass shit about Jeena, right? Like who cares? I mean, you care about Manish Grover. He's the person. Like even he, I don't know if you guys like. I mean, by the way, I mean a lot of y'all know Jeena is my holding, right? Like it's my top allocation. Like anybody who's got the portfolio analysis workshop, you've seen my journey with Jeena, you've seen my story. I mean, there's literally a record of my, how my journey has been with Jeena in the YouTube channel itself. Like you go across the playlist, you'll find a video on Jeena, right? And like one thing with Jeena is ki, like, like even Manish keeps talking about it, right? Manish Grover keeps talking about it. Ki, like, bro, I don't have to do marketing. I don't have to do advertisement. Like, I'm the fucking brand. Like, like it's me, right? As long as I go and do the videos out there and I go and do my marketing, my products are gonna get sold. That's who I am. Like for example, ERP, right? The entire ERP, you've never seen us do all this YouTube ka ad, Meta ka ad, and everything. The brand is me. I am the brand, and Rajoshi is the brand. As long as I and Rajoshi show up every day, people will buy the course. That's how it works, right? Like we don't need the other people. It's because of me and him you trust the products that we give. But over here, they do not have that figure. They do not have that brand power. They do not have that figure that can probably get that pull for their product. You get what I mean? They don't have it. So this is why they have to always spend more on this marketing and advertisement cost that is there. Unlike Jeena, which, in fact, if you remember, in the last quarter, Jeena ka, the marketing cost went down. As a result, uska operating leverage immense बढ़ गए. Like the PAT margin went up to 25% for Jeena because they have that power. Because of Manish Grover, they have that power. Like they can tell, fuck marketing, I'm the brand bro, and they can get that operating leverage. Here, they do not have that, and they have to constantly depend on this, this Google ads, Meta ads, and everything. And let me tell you this: Google Meta ads and everything, they only care about themselves, and they cost a lot. It's not easy. So this is, I think, biggest risk over here. You're constantly dependent on these ads on your D2C customer. You do not also have various other geography, like not geography, like multiple distribution system is not there. If tomorrow, like all this Google Meta, they ban you or something in that happens, then your distribution is not diversified for you to to find another channel to get that sale. What if that happens again? They might not be able to do this, this 50 to 50% kind of growth rate, 50 to 60%. And the second, like I told you, is ka product ka cost that is there is relatively high compared to the other categories that are there. That is what I've heard. So I mean, and that is why they're targeting buying acquisitions and everything that is there. Ye bhi ek problem hai. So a lot of things, but I think the third and the most important is execution risk. The guidance is great, management seems to be bullish, and all of that stuff is great, but execution risk is the main thing. And after the IPO, when you come and you've got a problem and the execution has not been that great, that puts a little bit of black mark on you, like that's also there. So that is also another thing. And the last is obviously the working capital requirements, because you're such a chotu company, you're targeting to grow at like 50% kind of growth rate. Your market cap is sub 350 crores. Now we're putting up a manufacturing capacity and all of that stuff. Working capital में pressure आ सकता है, and hopefully because of that you don't have to like suffer or anything, because ये जो इन्होंने ये जो बोला है for the capex, for the manufacturing capacity, or for the hospitals that is required, they don't have to go and do QIP or anything, because IPO किया है already. They have a lot of cash. सब internal accrual से ही हो जाएगा. But yeah, that is another thing. आगे जाके hopefully they get a control over here, so आगे जाके growth के लिए they don't have to sacrifice their ROE, to get growth. This is also another thing. So these are the things. Have a look at this company, see how you feel about it, read about this company. Very interesting prospect, and look at it. I also do not know why I get, why in my checklist, this Ayurvedic company pops out, because I'm like the last person who believes in Ayurvedic. And I get a lot of shit from you guys in the comment section, like, oh, I went to Jeena, they were not able to cure me. Like, I have this disease, should I go to Jeena? Like, bro, like, you need to understand one thing. Like, I could be you need to separate your emotions from your money. Okay, like I could be like the greatest supporter of Jeena. I'm like, like, I mean, you've seen me guys talk about Jeena, right? Like, I could be I could be the biggest investor, but I will never purchase their products. Like, I don't believe in Ayurveda. As simple as that. I mean, you guys see my love for Acharya Manish, right? If you've seen my videos, and I have a lot of respect, I have a lot of admiration for that guy. I admire him as a businessman, and I love how he thinks, and I think mine and his thinking are the same. But I would never like buy the products. I mean, like, if anybody has followed me on Twitter for long enough, you guys know that, like I'm a big person who asks you to go to the gym, lift your weights, do your do your cardio, and most importantly eat a lot of protein. And I keep telling you guys to eat a lot of animals, right? Like, and if anybody sees my Twitter, you would know, like, I eat a lot of red meat, like 5 to 6 days a week. I eat like 300 to 400 grams of red meat and everything. And imagine, like, Acharya Manish is like a pure vegetarian, and imagine me and he sit together in a panel, like, we would hate each other, but that doesn't mean like I would not be an investor. Like, I don't drink alcohol either, but tomorrow if I see an alcohol company, I will invest. If I don't smoke cigarette, and I hate when people smoke cigarette, but if Godfrey Phillips is doing that 30-35% growth, why not? I can put my money behind that, right? Like you need to like learn to separate your emotions. Just because what I see a lot of people doing is, just because they don't use the product, they try to put that experience or that knowledge at that they take themselves as a case study or a sample study, and they try to put their opinion on the entire country. India is a land of like 1.4 1.5 billion का population है हमारा, ठीक है? And imagine that if you are not using the product, there is somebody else using that product. There is millions of people who will be using that product. So don't try to put your experience, your narrative, your life, into somebody else's, and try to make an assumption कि like, कोई नहीं करता है ये. That is the biggest mistake you can do. Have an open mind. Like, I do not use all of these Ayurvedic products, but you need to like separate that from like, you need to separate that from like your investment philosophies. Like you got to think logically and not be emotionally driven over here, because you're dealing with money. When you're dealing with money, your emotions has to be outside of the door. Like, there's literally no place, because the day you get your emotions involved is the day it's over for you, like absolutely over. And your portfolio will start bleeding in red. Be ruthless. Be absolutely fucking ruthless with your money. Cut when it asks you, when the guidance is not executed, when you see that the problem is happening, when you see that the headwind is coming. Learn to be ruthless enough to cut, because this is your money. You worked your ass off to make this money. So absolutely, like, be ruthless over here. So that's what I want to tell. Yeah, so that's it, guys. And if you guys want to understand, how to do this, analysis and everything, get the investment checklist workshop. I'm not going to go into the cash flows of it. I think everybody who's got the investment checklist workshop, once you see the cash flows of Satkartar, I think you'll be able to relate why it is in a certain way, and you will not find an issue with it. At the same time, if you want to understand how to build a portfolio and everything, get the Q1FY26 portfolio analysis workshop. Okay, so that's that with Satkartar. I really never imagined I will make a 30 minutes video on this. I thought it will end in 20 minutes, but it's okay. I'm hungry. I gotta go eat. Bye.